Per usual, living on this channel for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving. Let's take a look at some alts. We have some interesting price action on the BTC side. Alts waking up a little bit. The BTC price action could be Sailor coming into the market again. I really hope it's not Sailor. We need a buyer other than Sailor, but it's looking like it's probably him. So I would just keep that in mind, because if we don't break 100K again in the near term, with his help, we could be up here for another 30, 60 days, right? Just bashing 100K. What will help us, ideally, is DXY, which we have been positively correlated to since October, a very rare positive correlation. Rises in dollar strength, decrease global liquidity, and we'll take a look at that in a second. What we're seeing today is a very strong reversal from 108 on DXY. So should we continue to see price moving lower here for DXY, ideally, that means stronger crypto, stronger alts, etc., mainly because of the global liquidity piece. Now, Joe posted this chart, Joe Consorti posted this chart a couple days ago. Price declined. This was the after the update. And we'd been talking about this. Other people have been talking about this. This isn't anything shocking or surprising. This is speaking to the correlation, usually, of the money supply of global liquidity versus dollar BTC USD, right? So the question here is, okay, do we continue to follow this path, or are we listening to the more recent price action? The jury's still out on that, you know? And again, if this is just Sailor buying, and we don't break 100K again, and liquidity stalls out here, we've got Michael Howell from Cross Border Cap also saying the same thing, that the global liquidity metric advanced by 3 months versus the 6-week change of BTC does suggest a decline in price. So currently it is a headwind for BTC and alts. Alts can do well if BTC holds, let's say, 90 to 100. Alts can do well in a broad bull market where BTC consolidates. Alts on a relative value pair will probably get destroyed once BTC breaks 100K, but in the meantime, we're seeing some broadening out. If BTC flips bearish, if BTC probably breaks 90 and goes lower, if that happens, then I'd expect alts to be doubly bearish, right? What makes this difficult is how quickly the swings happen for BTC and for alts. You really don't have a lot of time to make a decision. So you can either just stop making decisions and just let the cards fall how they may. You know, you're DCAing in, you're not going all in, all out, you're massaging things. That's probably preferable in an environment like this, just because it is a bull market. Legacy indices are at all-time highs. There's certainly a bullish bias, but yes, liquidity has taken a sharp turn lower. We also have this very likely positive news, assuming Paul Atkins gets approved as the next SEC chair. I'm not familiar with Paul as much as I am Brian and Teresa, but all three of them are very pro-crypto relative to the last regime. So we'll take it. And that should help alts. We had a Tornado Cash ruling yesterday that reversed an OFAC decision. That should help privacy coins. That should help DeFi. This SEC chair should help DeFi. You know, where's the puck going? The puck is going to easing regulations, regulatory clarity. So things like DeFi could do well, right? The table is set for DeFi to fundamentally start to do better than it has been. No promises, but it can't get any worse than it already was under Gensler. And that's likely why we're seeing some DeFi strength here. Looking at total 2, we are at multi-month highs, multi-year highs at this point. There is a very broad cup and handle here. Before the breakout, I had talked about exactly what we want to see. Price above the 200, price above the cloud. The moment that happened, we took off. We also saw stablecoin prints pick up in a big way in November. This is all the things you want to see. You've got technicals on your side. You've got liquidity on your side, at least on stablecoins. So total 2 looks great. Lots and lots of strength there. What's slightly more difficult here is trend strength. I'm trying to be hyper specific because I don't want to sound wishy-washy. Trend strength for total 2 BTC, stripping out stables, is still bearish on high time frames. This does not mean individually coins cannot do very well. As an index, as a benchmark, however you want to think about this, total 2 BTC is still bearish. Previously, when total 2 BTC was bearish, it took over a year to finally break higher. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case this time, but alts tend to do better. ETH tends to do better in the first half of the year in Q2. So this is lining up for a bullish breakout on the trend metric into 2025. That was the 3-day. If we bump that down to the 2-day chart, if we want to cheat it a little bit and try to reduce the noise, the reason I'm looking at the 3-day here is because it's basically been perfect for multiple years, other than let's say mid 2022. There was no fake outs here. It's been bearish the whole time. On the 2-day, for the most part, it has also been bearish the whole time, and it has been correct. So if you want a high hit rate, low noise signal, you want to look for something like this. And you can see we're still bearish on this, but we're getting closer. It's also possible that into 2025, we get some sort of year-long head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, and then we don't actually break out until Q4 2025 or something like that. So still trend bearish, but yeah, it's bounced, it's done well. BTC pairs are doing well. If we do the same exercise on dominance on the 3-day, dominance is still trend bullish. It hit a old support resist level, 61, 62, something like that. This could still bounce and keep going, right? If you asked me, should I be long or short this, regardless of the ticker, the long is still there. So that's on the 3-day. Again, this has been perfect in the sense that there has been no noise here the entire time since 2023. Since the breakout, it's told you get long, stay long, be long the whole time. This will be slow, but it is slow on purpose because it has not been wrong. We can look at the daily and you can see the noise here, right? Now you could always say, Josh, alts move quickly. I need to look at low time frames because in the event that this actually breaks down, I want to be ready. And you can do that on the daily. You can say, it was wrong here, it was wrong here, and just use stop losses on alts versus BTC. Daily still holding up on the cloud thus far. But should this flip bearish on the daily, that's a pretty decent signal. Not a great hit rate, but a decent potential signal this go around into 2025. If we look at what happened in April through July, we had a multi-month inverted triple bottom, inverted head and shoulders fractal, right? Up here, this to me looks more like a megaphone versus a potential head and shoulders down the line. It looks less bullish than bullish continuation or bullish reversal thus far. And that's the first time in a long time. It's been months. You had the consolidation here, the breakout, and now you're likely to see another consolidation, which may represent a reversal. But I think it's a little too early to tell. It does look weak. It does look like it wants to get bearish. But as of today, as of here, not quite, right? So how you play this individually doesn't matter to me. But yeah, people can jump the gun. They've jumped the gun for years. What does it matter, right? Keep jumping the gun. Who am I to stop you? But it is not, based on the cloud, fully bearish just yet. It's going to take a little time. ETH BTC on the weekly had a dragonfly last week close. Lots of wicks. Ideally, this is probably like the perfect example of a dragonfly. This was like spinning top versus dragonfly. Nevertheless, this week we did get a pretty decent bounce so far. Here's another dragonfly type candle at the bottom. You don't see these at the top, right? You see these at the bottom. And so far, so good. But again, this is not trend bearish. And you might be saying, why are you looking at the weekly? I could care less. I want to look at this on the 4-hour. That's fine, but the weekly has been correct for years now. The mean reversion would take you probably to like 0.45, just like it has been denied at the 50-week multiple times. That can happen again, but that's still a pretty great trade from here to there. I do think it's going to take time to bottom like it did in 2019 into 2020. As Cowen has talked about, if the Fed decides to flip from QT to QE in December or in 2025, that should help alts a lot. That will help liquidity a lot. So that's something to watch for on the macro side. So this is still bearish, but it is trying to bounce. It is trying to bounce. On the pitchfork, we briefly stabbed into the extreme bearish section, the white section. If you just think of this as like an RSI or something, right? We're going from overbought to oversold. Midline is a magnet. So we could go back to the magnet at the yellow line, make a decision, and bounce back down. That is the decision point to watch for. Can we get there? And then do we bounce up or down, right? It's if this, then that. Look what happened on the way down, September 2023 into September 2024. Tons of bounces, and it still stayed in the range. So the first step here is, can it bounce from oversold back to the midpoint? And then at the midpoint, what happens? If this breaks the midpoint, I do like this red zone again, but still it would be trend bearish. So you have to be careful. This doesn't become trend bullish until it is above the bearish pitchfork, right? But there's plenty of room to play this here versus initially going down. We hadn't ever reached this point yet, right? Now we may fail to get to the midline. We may double bottom, triple bottom, whatever. We may fall out the bottom, right? But this is all if this, then that decision tree type stuff, midline being very important. Now, the one trade I don't want to miss or mess up this cycle is the ascending triangle on Solana BTC that may also represent a cup and handle. Again, I want to be hyper specific here because there is a potential trade coming up that I will not be taking until the breakout occurs. The breakout occurs at 003. We are currently at 002. The cloud is trend bullish here. Price is trend bullish here. There is multiple chart patterns. Volume is something else to watch for. Do we get volume on the breakout? ETH BTC in 2022 had a failed ascending triangle. We'll take a look at that in a second. The reason you don't want to miss this is potentially a, 5x move on your BTC holdings. This is not a trade I'm taking now. Let me just be super, super clear. Another way to measure this is just the depth of the ascending triangle. We may break out, reach that level, and then stop. This is something you have to be very, very careful of. Any assumptions here, and we can invent ways and possibilities in which Sol outperforms, etc., etc. I don't care about anything other than the technicals. The technicals look very, very good here. And I like that this has consolidated at this point for a year. So what do you need to know? First, what do ascending triangles do and look like in a similar situation? How and where do they break? When do they break? Where is the stop loss? Where is this correct? Where is this incorrect? Here's an active one on XLE outside of crypto. You can see this reached the very edge, basically. It still may not break out. It has been trend bullish on high timeframes for a long time. This is the energy ETF if you're curious. Volume hasn't quite broken out yet. It did have a fake out already once. Okay, so this is not what we want to see ideally, because ideally this breaks out and just goes, right? Ideally this breaks out when it's 3/4 full. This is well past that, but it is still trend bullish. So it's one to watch concurrently with Sol BTC. If we look at historically ascending triangles, we've actually seen quite a few of these in crypto land, a lot of them on high timeframes. I don't really care about comparisons to low time frame versions of this, but we did have a 200-day consolidation on BTC in 2016. And what did we see? We saw volume come in a huge, huge way. We saw repeated denials of the breakout over and over and over. We had a little bit of a fake out and then another reconsolidation. So it's really important if you haven't seen what this looks like. Again, what is it? How can this fail? How can this succeed? Because I can't trade this for you. I'm just analyzing what I'm seeing. Okay, there's a very good chance this doesn't work out. But if it does, it is a massive trade. And so the risk reward is skewed pretty positively, in my opinion. I currently hold 0 Sol. Okay, again, I'm not in this trade right now. Now is not the time, in my opinion, to take this trade. Here's another example, ETH-BTC, consolidation, holds the diag, breaks out, big volume. Great. Here's another version after a bear trend, consolidates, sits on the horizontal for a while and breaks out, right? So you have to be patient with this stuff. It doesn't happen in a day. Here's another version in 2022 into 2023 with ETH where it looked like it was over, it came back. So if this happens with Sol BTC and it goes back to the neckline, the idea is still valid to me. You know, if we look at this on this chart here, if this falls below the cloud and then comes back, to me it's the same trade. It's still a breakout trade. It's still a ascending triangle. That's again why you don't take this trade here, or you size it way down and you add as the breakout occurs. But you can see where that went. That was ETH sub 2000. This is an example of the failed version. This is what you don't want to see. This is what you should have etched into your retina to tell the devil on your shoulder, now is not the time to take this trade because this can happen, where ETH-BTC consolidated in an ascending triangle. And this broke down. This never broke out. This did have a fake out breakout. And it never went higher than 0.85 or whatever that is. So yeah, I'm excited about the Sol BTC chart. What may happen, it's at a different point in the cycle, in my opinion, than it was in 2022. And it's a very large trade that I certainly won't be missing this go around. Before we go any further, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with a link in the description of this video. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PVI, DBA, Kraken. So back to altcoin land on the USD pairs. Again, I'm concerned that this is all sailor and we don't break 100K again and we just sell off again. I mean, that's possible, right? And you got to keep that in mind with these alt trades because alts will get angry. I'm not just saying that because we didn't go to 79, okay? I would like to see consolidation, not because I'm completely out of the market. That's not the case either. It's just if it's one guy doing this, then that's an issue when he's out of bullets, right? When he's out of ammunition to keep buying and we're stalling, not a great situation. But so far we've pulled up from 90, so we'll take it. ETH doing very well today. ETH-BTC pulling up quite a bit. Second on the volume list, might I add, for the first time in probably quite a while. ETH does have a cup and handle. It does have a measured move to what we'll call it 4,300. I talked about this ABCD possibility last week that also measures the 4,300. So I like the setup. I like the trade. I do have ETH here. I wouldn't count on anything past that just based on where ETH has been this year, how it's traded. You know, we can talk about 10K targets another time, but let's get the 4K and see what happens at that point. Ripple keeps moving higher. Last week, I think I talked about the potential for some sort of head and shoulders watch. You know, we didn't want to see this, and we still can. That's not impossible, but clearly it has bounced on the 4-hour here. Looks okay. Is it a great setup as a new trade? Potentially. You know, it depends on time frame, time horizon. If you're trading low time frames, we did get the 4-hour bounce. We didn't break down. Okay. You know, it's up whatever percentage this is in 20 days or something like that. It's up 150%. Would I really expect a significant move? I don't know. You know, I wouldn't expect another 150% necessarily. One other thing we'd measure is the high and low of the range. Maybe that takes us to 2, maybe, but it's certainly not bearish here. On RSI, it does have a bear div. And RSI is at 92. You know, it's tough because some of these alts have just been beaten down legally by the United States for so long that the pendulum's kind of swinging the other way, right? Solana also looks okay. You know, do I love fresh trades up here on the USD pair? Not really, because we could still see this. We could still see a 4-hour breakdown. It's not quite completely bullish for Solana just yet. So you certainly have to be careful of that, despite all the bullishness today. Doge, similar to Ripple, it's up a lot in a short amount of time. Realistically, how much more can we see? It's tough to say. I do like the high time frame viewpoint where we have a weekly breakout. We've got potentially a move towards $1. If you want to think of this as some sort of mega slanted sideways triple bottom, this does measure higher, right? The question is, how do you play this from here to 23 or from here to 29 if it pulls back, if you're not already trading this? But it's certainly bullish. You can't deny that. Stellar has followed Ripple. I really don't have anything to say on this. Kind of like the LTC fractal that you want to see because it's got this huge diag that it bounced from. It has a horizontal level that it's at now. If you wanted to measure some crazy multi-year target, you know, we could talk about 5 to 15, but I don't see that happening. Personally, I haven't traded this. I probably won't trade this. But yes, it's done very well, undeniably. ADA looks great on weekly as well. But again, it's up a lot in a short amount of time. This is a probability game. The two questions that come to mind: what is the probability that we see continuation? And then the second question is, what is the probability we see relative outperformance to anything else, including BTC, obviously? Now, this can continue unabated, no issues. But do I love fresh trades here? I don't. I don't personally. 4 hour looks okay. You got your 4 hour bounce. It does look like this is correlating a lot with Ripple. So that'll be a pair together to watch how those react to news or price action just in general. Pepe looks okay. It reached the old target from the breakout there, reconsolidated. On any of this stuff on low time frames, I always want to see a bullish TK cross with price above cloud, bullish cloud. So we're not there yet on Pepe for me as a re-entry or a signal, but I'm always looking for the same thing, and we're not there yet on the low time frame chart there. SUI, same deal, 4 hour in the cloud, bearish TK cross. We want this out of the cloud with a bullish TK cross for trend metrics to be happy with it. So it's not quite for me just yet. And again, it's up a lot since September. So on a relative value basis, it may be easier to push other stuff up more sooner. That isn't to say it's some fundamental judgment on this thing or that thing. It's just math, right? FTM looks fine. It had the risk of a bearish breakdown here. This head and shoulders thing tried to get into the cloud, morphed into some kind of megaphone thing. Generally not anything I want to be trading when it's just very questionable. It worked out, right? It worked out. The cloud was continually trying to get you back into this thing, but not exactly an easy trade. I guess we can measure this slightly higher, but it just feels like the move is done for now. ETH also had a very low time frame, ascending, broadening wedge that I really don't like trading these. It always feels like a coin flip. At the high, I'm always thinking, okay, this is resistance. It's going to, do another backflip down. At the lows, I'm thinking, okay, this is it. This is now where it's going to break lower. This also measures, 38, 4K, whatever, if this breaks up from here. So it's trying to do something, definitely on low time frames. DOT looks okay. Again, I just go back to immediately, okay, this thing's up 10,000% in 2 days. Let's trade something else. That's just me. So it is what it is. Tau on the daily still has a bearish TK cross, but it's tried to pull back up into the range. This was one that led the market like SUI, then went sideways. So if this continues to hold and consolidate and tries to knock on highs, then this may break out, but it's gone from 200 to 600 in a quarter. Maybe trade something else. That's what my brain is telling me, regardless of what the TA looks like here. Bonk, similar to everything else that's neutral in the 4 hour. I want to see this thing above the cloud with a bullish cross. Otherwise, it's just not for me. Maybe I'm just a negative Nancy. Say looks okay. I rotated out of this into ETH a couple days ago. I don't hate it, but I think the better entry was sub 50 cents or 55 cents. So up here, it's a little questionable to me. TIA, I added to this morning. I'll probably keep adding to this, assuming it looks good. Unlike most people who were calling for TIA to be bullish for the entire year, I'm just reading the cloud. And since 2024, since March, TIA has been down only, and then it ranged for a couple months. I get bullish on things when the cloud tells me to. So I was bullish on this on the day, on the breakout, and it's worked out. It's still bullish, still looks okay. I would rather trade this than Ripple, just because, again, Ripple's up 150% in 27 days. TIA is up 40%. On low time frames, it does look like maybe some sort of something here that's trying to continue. It looks okay. If we pull up the BTC pair, it also has, well, I guess they don't have that on Kraken, but it does have a descending broadening wedge on high time frames that also looks ready to potentially break higher. So I'd rather take trades on this versus, again, things that are up 1,000,000%. AVAX looks okay. Just continuing the markup phase here. No issues. Looks fine. Not super flashy one way or the other. near, same deal, exact same chart basically. Cloud says it's fine, looks okay. Nothing to write home to Ma about. Algo is another one that's up a ton since November, and I rotated out of this after holding it for a year into ETH over the past couple days. This may keep going, this may bounce, whatever, but it looks okay, right? Probably needs a minute to consolidate at 30 cents before continuing higher. Link on the DeFi side of things looks okay, not super flashy. I don't really have anything to say here. It's bullish, looks fine. It's not going to lead the market on anything, but it looks okay. You know, so it's personal preference. Do you want to trade ETH ecosystem? Do you want to trade DeFi? Do you want to trade meme coin? What sector do you want to, you know, I don't know. It's up to you. WIF just looks like it's consolidating lower there, kind of boring. LTC zooming way out, still in that mega consolidation. If you're bullish on this, the cloud would tell you, okay, you know, here's your weekly breakout. It's confirmed. You don't have a TK cross yet. You don't have the cloud yet, but early signs that maybe LTC can have a run to 300. Maybe something with alerts that you keep watching, but looks better here to me than it did at 70, just based on potential to move higher. Aave on the DeFi side, as I've kind of said a bunch, yeah, this does well. It does poorly. It's super volatile. It looks fine. You know, maybe DeFi does better. Maybe it starts to break out better. You know, you can justify this in all sorts of ways. We can measure this like we do with Doge and say, okay, maybe this can go to 500 or something. I just think it's going to be a very painful journey. If it gets there, not that it can't, just look at this chop that over the past 2 years it's been in. INJ, similar to Link and a few others there, where nothing flashy, still bullish, looks fine. No issues with that at all. Unlikely to outperform anything else in the near term. Curve, high time frames, hit the diag, continues to hold higher than the diag, hit the cloud, and got denied so far. So I would love to see this. What does it look like mid-December? Do we have an answer? Is DeFi back, right? Definitely something to keep an eye on. I think we'll stop there. You know, there's a few charts that are up a lot, a few charts that are up a little, and it's just kind of personal preference. What do you want to trade here? I like TIA, I like ETH, I like BTC, and that's kind of it for me, but that's just my personal preference. Target on TIA would probably be around 10. That's all I have for this one. Hope you have an excellent turkey day. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.